Hey, and welcome to our Mystic Road Trip. I am Kim, your guide and host. Welcome. If you have never been here before, I am a spiritual wellness coach, astrologer, and tarot reader who likes to use all of those things plus mindfulness to help women decondition and find their path back to their authentic self so that they can find their road to their true bliss. And I'd say, this is a relaunch week, so there's a lot of new things, right? Every day we're going to have a little podcast that we're talking about different parts of the same theme. I've even introduced a couple new things, including yesterday's podcast, which talks about inspirational women of history and fiction, and really kind of gives a deep dive into them and gives some lessons we can learn from. With that being said, today's episode is another one of those lovely episodes where I'm diving into one of my special interests, and that is philosophy. Yes, I am a history nerd and a philosophy nerd. I'm just basically an all-around nerd. And so today, on these episodes, we're going to be talking about different methods, different philosophers, different tools that we can take from all of these. Because here's the truth, you may not subscribe to one philosophy, or you may. But the truth is, all of them have something that we can utilize as tools. And today, we're going way back to the OG himself. And yes, sometimes we're going to talk about men, because unfortunately, in the world of philosophy, there are women, but very few are talked about. And we'll get to some of them. But I thought it was great to start with the OG, like I said, Mr. Socrates himself, or as we probably should pronounce it, Socrates. So today we're going to be talking about the Socratic self-knowledge, know thyself. This means we're going to be going back to ancient Greece for circa 470, 399 BCE. And as I said, we're going to be talking about this because there's tools that we can utilize in them. So instead of conquering lands, we're going to start questioning reality itself. That's right. This is where we start to pick up tools for thinking and unlearning and seeing clearly. Because sometimes growth isn't about adding more. It's about challenging what is already there. And if we were talking about expanding our power and stepping into our power in the last episode, today we're going to talk about expanding our awareness. And we're going to do that by taking a little tour and getting to know the man, the myth, the original. But why though? Questioning is not a bad thing, and that's something that Socrates really abounded by, right? Socrates didn't hand people answers. He just kept asking questions. He was like that eternal 3-year-old when you tell them something and they're like, why? And then you tell them something and they're like, why? Why? But why? But why? But why? But why? That is interesting because that means the kids understand the Socratic Method before even some adults. You have to question assumptions. You have to challenge what feels obvious. You have to keep going until you hit something real. Here's the thing. Socrates' big one-liner, right? The unexamined life is not worth living. In other words, if you don't question your life, you might be living someone else's version of it. That's how I take it. But here's the thing. For Socrates, questioning became a problem. Turns out, if you actually always ask people to explain themselves, they're not a big fan of it. So Socrates was put on trial and executed because questioning beliefs doesn't just create clarity, it really disrupts comfort. And that means it shakes systems that rely on people not thinking too hard. Sound familiar? Sound like something we're all living in? Truth work isn't comfy and cozy, sit by the fire with a cup of cocoa. It's transformational. And so it's something we need to think about. And how does that tie into what we talk about here? Well, philosophy is about to meet your real life. Self-knowledge isn't just awareness. It is an archaeological dig. It's an excavation. You have to notice your thoughts. You have to question where they came from. And you need to decide if they actually belong to you. And that is in and of itself what deconditioning is about. Because let's look at it. This work is turning that's just who I am to who taught me that. This work is that's how it has always been. When it should be, does that mean it's true? When you start questioning, you are starting to expose those conditioning patterns. And when you start questioning those and exposing those, you loosen its grip on you. And that's what it's about. You create space for something more aligned with yourself. Awareness and knowing thyself is the first crack in any pattern. And once you've seen that crack, and once that crack is started, there's no spackling over it. It's just continuing. I mean, I guess you could spackle over it, but what's the point? Here's the thing. Socrates walked So we could sit in bed at 2 a.m. in the morning rethinking our entire personality, which isn't a bad thing, as long as you're not overthinking and you're not losing sleep. You need to ask yourself these real questions. And when you start doing that, though, you're going to have unexpected clarity. Your identity may unravel a little bit, and you will want to stop settling for what isn't yours. And that means side effects of this is you're going to start living on purpose instead of on autopilot, which is what this whole deconditioning journey that I'm talking about is about. That's it for today's, guys. So hopefully you got something and this is entertaining for you. As always, if you want to reach out to me, as I said before, social media, all the information is in the description box. And I'm going to leave you with our reflection prompt for today, and that is, what beliefs do you hold without ever questioning? Who are you beneath all the roles you've learned to play? And what truth are you avoiding because it might require you to change? And change is scary, guys, but change is life and change is necessary. I really enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys did too. As always, have a